Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. It's Georgia down in Australia, and gosh, as I seem to say at the start of every one of these videos, it feels like a really long time. I wonder if I remember how to do this, but it has been a very long time, and I really need to get back into this schedule of making videos for you. So today I am going to journal Psalm 24. Now there's a bit of an interesting story behind that. It's one of those psalms that, how to say it without it coming out all wrong, it's one of those psalms that has never been one of the big favourites with me. Not that, well, I don't have, well, yes, of course, we all have favourites. We all have favourites, right? Yeah. So it's never been one of my big favourites. And I've never really found it to be relevant. Don't take that wrongly, but for myself, I never found it to be relevant until I heard something that made me see it in a completely different way, and I was like, wow. So we'll come to that later. But for now, I'll get the journaling started, and as we go along, I'll let you know why I'm doing certain things. Now, the part of the psalm that I'm really focusing on is the second half. Lift up your heads, O gate, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. This whole section is really the part of the psalm that's made me go, oh, wow, okay, now I get it. So what I'm thinking, and this is one of those, I'm going to make it up as we go along, so good luck with that. We'll see where we end up. But what I'm thinking is I actually want the psalm covered by some sort of ancient gate / doors that can open up. The psalm will be inside, but I want the design to sort of flow onto the page. I don't want to cover the entire page. I want to leave some journaling space because there's something very important that I want to write as a title or a sentence, something. So there's going to be opening gates, a bit of sort of kind of rough, I'm thinking old stones, that kind of look, that will sort of flow between the gate and the rest of the page to sort of blend the two together. That's as far as my thinking has gone. Now, to do the gate, I am taking the easy way out. I have this die. Now, it's from Kaisercraft and it's really, really old. Now, I imagine anybody watching this video, maybe 0.001% of you has a chance of having this die. If you don't have a die, you might have something similar. If you don't have anything similar, this is the time when you get really creative and cut something out for yourself. You could actually download a picture from the internet of some sort of ancient historical gate or doors and print that out, cut out some of the design perhaps. Me, I am cheating, so I have actually cut that design out onto some brown paper. Now, I liked it because of the fact that it opens up, but what I don't like about it, well, it's more like what I don't like about this page really, is if I was to stick this even as far as the very, very center of where the pages meet, when I open the doors, I will still miss out on some of the psalm. Now, I have two options. One of them is to actually cut this section off so that one side is shorter than the other, and then my gates will pretty much open up. I have to make this one open a little bit more, or I could slice along here so that it opens more, but then it's going to mess with this design here. I think I'm going to just cut along here and make it shorter on one side. Okay, and that will successfully open up to show most of the psalm. Now, I know I'm missing out on the top part, but I think that's okay because, again, it's especially these last few verses that I really want to focus on. So I'm going to start by just gluing that down. There we go. So I have my ancient doorway sitting there over the psalm. Then I open the doors that if you are into simple Bible journaling, you could just leave it like that. You could just have your little gate that opens up, and that's a cute little decoration on your page. You could write something here and leave it at that. You could actually do this in your reading Bible if you had such a way that you did not cut off the rest of the psalm like I have. but I'm going to do just a little bit more. First I'm going to get this to protect the pages underneath, because I have a feeling I'm going to get a little bit messy. What I wanted to do, it's always what I want to do and what I end up doing are kind of opposites, or never quite the same. What I want to do is use a combination of this stencil, which is like a stone wall, and this, which I know it's like a film grungy sort of stencil, but I like those grungy bits. I thought they might go really well sort of going between the outside and around my gate. And my original plan was to use my Distress Grit Paste, but I can't find it. Now, I know I have a new tub that I opened recently, and I have pulled this room inside out, and I have no idea what I've done with it. Cannot find it. So I'm going to have to be a little bit inventive. I'm going to, well, first of all, play with a new product. I have this Prima Finibert modeling paste. Now, I have never used this before. Apparently, apply with a palette knife, used to create texture, dimension, or as a base for making your own custom paints and colors. So I want to use it for texture and dimension. So apparently it should work for that. So I'm going to pop a bit on my palette here. All right, but what I'm going to do to add that grittiness to it, which I wanted from the grit paste, and I don't need the grit paste because I have my own grit. So being the strange girl that I am, I actually have a little tub of ashes from Ash Wednesday, and I'm going to, I know I'm strange, I'm going to add some of, oh wow, way too much. I'm going to add some of that and blend it in a bit at a time. I don't think I want the whole lot. That was a bit of an accident. So here we go, just getting that kind of rough grey look there. And I'm not sure exactly where we're going with that. Now I don't want to cover all of this area, so I'm going to just, using my stencil and a palette knife, I'm overlapping those doors. I know I don't have enough of my palette, but I'm just kind of experimenting at the moment. I'm overlapping over the top of the doors, and then you get spread onto the rest of the page, but I'm not giving it an even finish because I want it to be raggedy around the edge. So yeah, this kind of thing, look at that, excellent, just what I want. Okay, so now I see that works for me. We can actually make some more. Okay, so now it gets tricky because I did not think this through very well, and I have my stencil sitting on top of this bit that I've already put the texture paste through. But that's okay, we'll see how that goes. So once again, I'm actually making it overlap with my die cut doors so that it's not a separate element sitting on its own. It's kind of, the wall and the doors are the same, the one structure. Getting a little bit tricky there along the spine edge of the page, but that's okay. And again, I'm not making a very neat edge at the top. I'm letting it sort of blend out. Okay, that works for me. And I might use that other stencil to do something along the bottom. Here we go, I might do that little rough one there. Oops, sticking there. So that looks kind of like the ground. I'll do a little bit more here. There you go. Who needs stencils when you can just blob it on yourself, right? There we go. And I'm just going to give it a bit of, I'm sort of tapping up and down with my palette knife just to give it that kind of raggy, dimensional, touchy-feely kind of look. little bit messy, but I think it's going to be okay. All right, great. So I need this to dry now. I might actually leave it to dry overnight, and then we'll see what ideas I have in the morning. Okay, so just a little word of caution. If you are doing this sort of stenciling with texture paste or whatever you choose to use, be really careful that your book is open very well while it dries. Mine was not, and the pages have kind of stuck together along the spine edge here. I tried to pry it open, but I started to tear this page, so my Bible is now going to be kind of not so well opened on this particular page. That's okay, it's not a huge disaster, but just a word of warning in case this is what you are doing and, like me, you forget that there's stuff drying along here. Okay, now I am keeping this page very simple, so I just want to add a couple more things. One of them is I want to do a bit of sort of spattering and maybe paint a little bit over these gates. They're a little bit too brown for me. I want them to blend more into that grey stenciled wall. So I've grabbed some grey paint. I'm using Distress Paint in Hickory Smoke, and I'm sort of thinking that might be the nice light grey that I want. Oops, way too much. I tend to do that. And I'm just going to just very roughly, I want this to be kind of translucent because I do want to see my brown coming through it. I'm just sort of, I don't know, dirtying it up a little bit and aging it a bit, just to take away that very obvious brown color of the card that I've used. And as it dries, this dries a lot lighter, so I know I can put it on quite thickly. And see, it's just given it a little bit more of an aged look, which is good for my ancient doors thing that I'm doing. Of course, you don't have to do this sort of thing. It's just me. Now I'm going to do a little bit of spattering, and first of all with this grey, and I am remembering that I do want to write something down here. That is actually the biggest focus of my page, is what I need to write. But I'm going to just spatter a bit of brown everywhere. Sorry, a bit of grey everywhere. Well, I should cover this facing page, or I'll have a little bit more disaster going on. Here we go. And because that's looking very, very grey, I'm going to add some brown spatter as well. And I don't know if it's going to be a little bit too red for me. It's a reddish brown, but we'll see, because I need a little burst of colour, because it's looking just way too grey for me. So just do a little bit. I'm being careful because I don't want too much of something that I regret. On here now, I'm just doing some spattering over the stones. I'm doing a lot of it on the bottom of my page, sort of to look like dust and dirt that's kind of flying up in the wind. Well, that's my thought anyway. And I might just, here and there, really watering this paint down a lot, and here and there just putting a little bit on the stones and between the stones, just to give my page a little bit of colour. It was looking just a little bit too black and white. That is all I'm doing in terms of painting. I'm thinking of something here that I'll come back to once this is dry, but in terms of the painting and the decorating, I'm just putting some colour now in between these little die cut pieces, just to give it some sort of background, or there's something behind that wall, not just white or the white of the page. Okay, so now I'm stopping. One more little thing I want to do to the gates, and then I'll do my journaling. Now, just one more thing that I want to add to my gate, and that is I want to lock it. of course. But normally when I lock these things, it's because there's secret journaling behind it. And so I'll do something that's very permanent or that's very difficult to open. But in this case, when my gates open, I have the psalm which I want to have access to. So I'm going to make a little lock sort of device that is more decorative than it is functional. And I've pulled out this little heart lock. I have a few different ones that I looked at, but this is the thinnest one. I don't want something too chunky and dimensional because it's inside my Bible and it's got to be able to close without damaging the pages next to it. And I have a little bit of chain link, which is actually from an old piece of junk jewelry or something that I had lying around. And I thought this would be quite perfect because on one end it's got this little, I don't know if you can see, sort of like dangly, sort of, I don't know what to call it. I'm not a jewelry maker, okay? It's got this little dangly thing with a ball at the end of it. And I thought if I was to stick this through one of the openings here in my gate, because I'm actually having trouble pushing it through, it's just a tiny bit too big, which is perfect because this will work, yes. Once I've done that, it's not easily going to fall out. So that part will remain firmly attached to this side of the gate. And then if I thread my heart through like that, so it looks like the heart lock is locked on this chain that holds the gates together. And then I'm just going to thread that through this side of the gate and just leave it dangling there. I'm not going to do anything to attach it because, like I said, I want this to be easily opened. So I might come up with a better way of attaching that at some point, but for now I'm just going to keep it like this, decorative more than anything. Over time this will push down and they'll stay down. So that's my little gate with my lock around it. So now we just need to get the journaling done. So I'm actually really quite happy with this page. I think it's been a while since I journaled a page in my Bible for my own personal benefit and for all the right reasons, and things just turn out differently when you do it for the right reason. Okay, so now I want to do just a little bit of journaling. Now, as I said earlier in this video, I had never really given much time to this psalm. It kind of did not feel particularly relevant to me. And I'm going to unlock the doors now. I have recently watched numerous times now an amazing series called The Rescue Project by Acts 29 and Father John Riccardo. Now, in one of the episodes, he talks about faith being basically surrender. And he talks about surrender, and if you know me, then you know that was the lights going bing, 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 pay attention. But he mentions this psalm and praying this psalm, especially to lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. And he talks about the imagery that runs through his head when he prays this psalm being that of the siege of a city in medieval times. And he describes, there's an invading army on the outside and they keep asking, will you give up? Will you surrender? And finally, the people inside the city, they give up and they open the gates. I'm doing the, I'm giving you the visual aids. They open the gates and the invading army comes in. But in this case, it's a good invading army. And he then goes on to say something which I have, me and stolen words. I have completely stolen his words, and I'm going to write them along the spine, along the outer edge of my page. And now my little things come undone here, because it is just they are just such powerful words and such a powerful prayer. And I thought, as soon as he was saying these words, I thought immediately this page started to form in my mind. And I thought, I need to journal this. I need to put this in my Bible. This is really big. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to turn it sideways because I think I'm going to write all these words this way. because otherwise I think it would just look weird if I wrote it down the page, because some of the words are going to be long. It's going to be very stilted. So I'm going to do it this way so it kind of flows on. And I'll just start with my pencil and then eventually go over it with something darker. I lift the gates of my mind, my imagination, my will, my memory, my body, my everything. Help me to lift the gates and let you come into my life. Words to remember, words to ponder, words to pray. Again, inspired by Father John Riccardo from the Rescue Project. And you know me, I'm very big on plagiarizing ideas and stealing words, but I always give credit. So I will put a link to the Rescue Project down in the description below. So totally recommend. It's just wow, just wow. I think some of you have already heard me go on a little bit about it in my Facebook group, on my Facebook profile, probably everywhere. If you know me in real life, if you know me in real life, you have heard me talk about it at least once. Okay, so this is my very simple page. Well, it started off as a very simple idea. It is actually very simple. Just a little bit of stenciling, some painting and spattering. I do need to do something about this chain. I will come up with something better. I might glue the inside of one side. I don't know. I'm not quite sure yet. Anybody has any ideas? Let me know. Let me know. And we'll see what I can do. But in the meantime, I'm just leaving it like this. It's fine. And it will, over time, sort of end up sticking in its place, especially when the book is closed. And we did a test. Can we close the book? Kind of. Kind of, but that's okay. It's, once again, it's, well, as always, it's the art Bible. It's meant to get thick and chunky and have pages that don't close properly. Otherwise, well, what am I doing? Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. If you create a page like this, I would love to see it. So all my social places will be in the comments below. Thank you again, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.